welcome to the Pigskin Mafia Podcast, special edition. We got 3 shows today. Right now, we got the recap show where we talk about last week's games in college football and NFL, which were chaotic, to say the least. A lot of teams in the top 25 moving around already, and looks like the playoff spots are closing in. Conference championship games are closing in. It's incredible so far. And before I get started, let me do this real quick. Just a bit. Alright, I wasn't frozen, just had to put the do not disturb. Alright, so a lot of chaos has ensued. It has been crazy. It has been wild. What a phenomenal week of football. And to say the least, mine and JMO's teams faced off against each other. Texas coming out with a victory over Kentucky, a very tough Kentucky team to say the least. Could easily have won multiple games in the SEC with the likes of Georgia and Tennessee, so I mean, it's a paradigm shift that's going on in college football, and I gotta tell you guys, I am really excited to break down the recap, and also I'm gonna break down Mack Brown being fired by North Carolina. But here's the twist: he's gonna be able to coach his last game against NC State, which is a very bizarre firing, in my opinion, which we'll get more in depth on that. And then Daniel Jones gets released by the New York Giants. Already found a new home in the Minnesota Vikings as a practice squad member. Now, I don't know what this means for Daniel Jones besides possible elevation to play as a backup. I mean, maybe this is a new, fresh start for him. He's going to take in that Geno Smith role where he's going to be a journeyman and hopefully turns out great, But we're not going to talk about that until later on, after we get done with the recap of college football week 13. And my God, me and JMO were very close. JMO got 7-3. I got 6-4 in my predictions, which I think that's twice that he's gotten me in college football. And I gotta tell you guys, things are getting spicy. All right, so let's talk about the first game, which me and JMO thought that Ohio State was gonna win this game. I like the wig comment. Thanks. Even though it's not a real wig. Indiana was going to go into Columbus, and if you thought that Indiana was really going to go in there and win, you're delusional or you just don't know football. Ohio State took care of business, 38-15. I will say that Indiana put up a hell of a fight in the first half. Ohio State just ran away with it, and great win for the Buckeyes, to say the least. And Indiana, I think this is a lesson learned for Kirk Cignetti and the Indiana Hoosiers. I mean, right now, they control their own destiny with this last game that they play. But we'll see what happens. I honestly think they'll get booted out because of the strength of schedule and strength of record. I mean, the only good team that they played against is the team that they lost to, in my opinion. But me and JMO got this pick correct. I actually had the better spread margin. And Ohio State goes on and wins 38-15. Great win for the Buckeyes. Next game we're going to talk about is one of the few upsets that I called out, but I didn't I said that this could be a possible upset. Number 9, Ole Miss taking on Florida. A Florida team that has resurged and is back in the driver's seat of being bowl eligible. And Ole Miss was a 10-point favorite in this game. And me and both JMO thought that Ole Miss was just too much for this Florida team. That's wrong. Florida goes in and takes care of business 24-17 and is now bowl eligible. Billy Napier has done a good job. I have to say this. 3 claps for Billy Napier and the Florida Gators. I mean, just unbelievable turnaround this season. Went from being he's going to be gone mid-season to he may have an extension. You know, I mean, being able to put in Lagway and being able to win games and almost, or they gave Georgia hell. They gave a lot of teams hell. They didn't give this team hell because we dominated that game. But other than that game, Florida has really looked good for the most part. For a team that has had so many trials and errors this season, they've looked really good. And they punched Ole Miss in the fucking mouth, and they made Jackson Dart look like a nobody out there. So, good win for Florida. Me and JMO were absolutely wrong about this Florida team. There's a lot of mental toughness with this team, and they seem to love Billy Napier, and they seem to have a lot of trust within the program for Billy Napier. Good win for the Gators. But next game, number 25, Illinois, 7-3, taking on Rutgers, 6-4. Rutgers was a 1.5-point favorite. I had Illinois, and so did JMO. So me and JMO have agreed 3 straight picks in a row. That's bound to change on the next pick, but I picked Illinois to win by 11. JMO picked Illinois to win by 7 points, which he was right. They won by 7 points, 38-31. And Illinois looked pretty good out there. They looked really decent out there against Rutgers. And Rutgers put up a good fight, but Greg Schiano couldn't defend that fake punt. It was a brilliant play call by Belima. I really enjoyed that game. I really did. For a Big Ten game, that was a good game. But good win for the Fighting Illini, who moved to 8-3. Next game we're going to talk about, Sam Houston State and Jacksonville State. I don't know what it is with me and Jacksonville State. I always underestimate the Gamecocks from Jacksonville State. I really do. I did it last year, last year when I did my preseason predictions. I said they weren't going to be that great in the Conference USA. I think they ended up winning it, or they were close to winning it last year. And now here they are again, 7-3, 6-point favorites. JMO had them winning by 3 in overtime. I had Sam Houston State holding them to 9 points, and Sam Houston State winning by 8. But again, that's not the case. Jacksonville State wins 21-11. Great win for the Gamecocks over there in Jacksonville State. I'm just going to put this on record. I am very wrong about Jacksonville State. I will never pick against them ever again unless it's against my Longhorns or if it's an obvious pick. Okay? So this game had me and JMO really confused. Number 7, Alabama. Probably the most devastating team to play this week. Devastating to watch, I mean. And they came in with such good wins over LSU. And trying to think of who else. Oh, Mercer. Mercer. They played against Mercer before this game. And for some reason, my inside was telling me, TJ, you might want to put this down as your potential upset. My brain was telling me, I don't know about this. I think Alabama will beat the hell out of Oklahoma because Oklahoma isn't the same Oklahoma this season. My gut, I should go with my guts more often. My gut was telling me that Oklahoma was going to fire with all cylinders running and punch Alabama in the mouth. And they did. And they whipped their fucking ass. I am deeply impressed with this Oklahoma team after that win. With the way, and they won in the most unimpressive way. With zero type of offense except for running the ball with Jackson Arnold, you know. And I was really concerned heading into this game what type of offense Oklahoma was going to have. Because Oklahoma hasn't played that well on the offense all season long. Jackson Arnold's been struggling, but maybe Seth Luttrell was not the guy. Just like what Brent Venables said in his press conference, maybe he just wasn't the guy. And I'm not going to say Jackson Arnold looked good out there. I'm just going to say that he ran the ball well. But what really impressed me was the way Oklahoma's defense was mirroring Jalen Milroe. It seems like two teams have figured out Jalen Milroe. One being Oklahoma University and the University of Texas. Remember how Jalen Milroe struggled in that game against Texas? It was the same way against Oklahoma. I was really impressed with the way that defense came out and played and forced Jalen Milroe to throw the ball. That's what you want to do against a dual threat like Jalen Milroe. He's not the most accurate passer. He tends to panic when there's pass rush going on and there's no running lane for him. I mean, this was a display of what we're witnessing as a monumental upset, but it's between two blue bloods. See, you got to understand where I'm coming from with this. Like, normally I would be bashing Oklahoma for running onto the field twice against Alabama because of the history that Oklahoma has had in their historic program, winning 7 national championships in their illustrious program, you know. But with the way 2 out of the last 3 seasons have gone for Oklahoma, I honestly could say this. They have the right to run onto the field and celebrate with their team. I don't know what it is about this Oklahoma team right now, but they look fucking good. And they're about to play against the LSU team in Death Valley that really struggled against Vanderbilt, which we'll talk about that after this game. I think Oklahoma's gonna bring the heat against LSU. I don't know what it is. I really don't know what it is with this team. Their defense is their anchor. Their defense is what wins them games. Okay? They don't have very many offensive weapons out there because most of them have been hurt throughout the season. And Jackson Arnold can't really throw the ball that well this season. So, great win for Oklahoma Sooners. Now, speaking about the Alabama side, holy fuck. This was probably the worst Alabama loss that I've seen in a long time growing up. As far as facing another Power 5, where they were out physicaled and outmatched in this game. It looked like Alabama didn't even want to show up to Norman. They looked like they didn't even want to touch Oklahoma in that game. Oklahoma wanted to punch them in the fucking mouth, and Alabama didn't want it. I could tell you from the moment that Oklahoma scored that touchdown with Robinson, it was over. Like, that killed their spirit. Now, they had a chance to win, but they couldn't do it. And Jalen Milroe looked awful in that game. The play calling was horrible. The defense couldn't stop the run somehow against Jackson Arnold. They made Jackson Arnold look like Josh Allen out there as far as running the ball. Thanks for the sub, Car Edits. I appreciate it, my guy. If I'm Alabama, I have to win the Iron Bowl, and I have to win big. There's no ifs, ands, or buts, because they're going to be looking at point systems too in this. Yeah, I just shouted you out, Car Edits. Shout out to Car Edits for subscribing to the channel. I'm telling you guys this right now. This Alabama team, if this is the way Alabama football is going to be under Kalen DeBoer, I don't know what else to say. I really don't. It's embarrassing to see Alabama like this, honestly. They look defeated. They look like they don't want it anymore. I mean, it's sad. It's really sad because you're so used to seeing them on top of the world in college football, and now here they are losing to a 500 Alabama, a 500 Vanderbilt, in a Tennessee team that Alabama could match up very well against, that Georgia whipped their ass, and Alabama beat Georgia. Like, come on, man. Like, it doesn't make sense to me that Alabama could beat Georgia, right? But lay a stinker of a game against Oklahoma. Tell me where that makes sense, because it really doesn't. But speaking of Vanderbilt, we're going to talk about Vanderbilt and LSU in this game. Now, LSU was a 7.5 point favorite. I actually had them winning 24-14. JMO had Vanderbilt winning 24-17. Although he got the score correct and I was close on the score, he had Vanderbilt, I had LSU. LSU won 24-17. LSU just looks unimpressive, and they look like they don't even want to play for Brian Kelly anymore. And it's not because he yelled at a player. Shut up. It's not that. It's because he's fake. He's a phony. And he throws people underneath the bus. That's why I don't like him. Now, if he's on the field yelling at a player, that's for a good reason. Now, if he's in the locker room, or not in the locker room, but in the presser, saying that, well, our defense couldn't tackle, this is that. I really don't like when coaches do that. And instead of saying, I need to correct our team, He doesn't say, I need to do this, I need to do that. He doesn't say anything but just throw people under the bus. And honestly, I don't respect that dog. I really don't. I think Brian Kelly is a fucking weirdo. I think he is a natural born loser. So that's all I got to say about Brian Kelly. But I don't know. I'm just not impressed with LSU. And they got a Oklahoma team coming in that just whipped the shit out of the team that beat the fuck out of them. So I don't know, man. It's very interesting. But next game we're going to talk about is a game that I actually had. This could be a potential upset. Minnesota versus Penn State, which was close. I was 2 points away from getting 5-5 or 5 out of 5 games as potential upsets. Now, my prediction was Minnesota winning the game, which was going to be 27-24. J-Mo had Penn State winning 28-23. Penn State goes on to win 26-25. I mean, just a grueling matchup. Minnesota is one of those nitty-gritty teams, and it was a gritty win for Penn State. Honestly, they were hanging off the ropes in that game, and if it wasn't for a 2-point conversion attempt failure, we would see Penn State possibly out of the playoff. But great win for Penn State, honestly. That might have just saved their playoff chances if they win this game coming up. But next game is a Big 12 title implicator. If BYU were to won this game, they would have probably went into the Big 12 championship. If Arizona State would have won, it would create chaos. Well, here's part of the chaos. Arizona State, me and J-Mo picked Arizona State to win. It was 28-23. I had 28-21. He had 24-20. Arizona State dominated most of the game. It was a chaotic game, to say the least. BYU had one more chance to score with 1 second left because the refs told the Arizona State crowd to go back into the stands after storming the field. It was like a 30-minute delay or 13-minute delay or something like that. And then Arizona State ended up winning by fucking 3 yards, basically. Retzlaff threw a beautiful pass. Almost got caught in the end zone, but he was tackled just short of the goal line. Great win for the Sun Devils. Kenny Dillingham might be one of my favorite coaches out of the Big 12. Him and Kalani Sitake are two of my favorite coaches out there right now. They build up their programs really well, but the Big 12 race is crazy right now. You got 4 2-loss teams and 4 3-loss teams that have a chance to be in the college football playoff. There's a lot of shifting that a lot of people need to do. Arizona State, I think, just has to win, and Iowa State has to win, and I think that's it for Iowa State. They just need to win as well, and a BYU loss, I think. But there's a lot of parity in the Big 12. Like, cannibalization is a thing in the Big 12. But great game overall. BYU is one of those teams that likes to come back at the end, and it just didn't work out the last couple of times. That Utah game, to me, was an indicator that BYU was due for a loss anyway. So, but great win for Kenny Dillingham and Arizona State, especially after the season that they had last season. My God, what a fucking turnaround. Number 9, Pitt 7-3, taking on Louisville, 6-4. I think Louisville is arguably one of the best 4-loss teams in the country. They were 8.5-point favorite. I actually had them winning 24-10, whereas JMO had Louisville winning 28-13. The score ended up being 37-9. Pitt has fallen off over the last several weeks, and Louisville just looked good out there. I mean, physically, athletically, all aspects. They look fucking good out there. And then the final game that we're going to talk about before I get into some other upsets that happened. Number 19, undefeated Army, taking on number 6, Notre Dame, who lost to NIU early on in the season but have been rolling. Me and JMO pretty much almost got the prediction right. We both had Notre Dame winning big, and Notre Dame won 49-14. I'll give it to JMO that he was the one closer to the score than I was. I just added on 3 more points for Army. Notre Dame is fucking scary to watch, and I don't mean like they're concerning. I mean they're fucking good at what they do. They are fucking amazing to watch. Like, they're physical, they're mean, they're nasty. I love it. I love the way they play football, man. And for Army, hell of a season, but I don't know if you could beat Tulane. You're probably going to end up beating Navy. I don't know yet, but great win for Notre Dame. And a couple more games I'm going to mention. Texas A&M losing to Auburn in quadruple overtime. The most insane way to lose. A trick play. Why not just punch it in? Play some goddamn football, not fucking schoolyard bullshit. I hate that shit, A&M. But good win for Auburn. It's a big momentum booster. Your rival just got their asses kicked by Oklahoma. I mean, it's a big-time win for Auburn and a good chance for them to get bowl eligibility and to for sure knock Alabama out of the playoff. But for A&M, they got to stop focus or whatever happened in that game. Here's my reason why they lost. They were thinking about the burnt orange before this game. They thought this was going to be a walk in the park in Jordan-Hare Stadium. There's always magic in that stadium. You never know what's going to fucking happen in that stadium. And Mike Elko was the living proof that A&M was more focused on us, the University of Texas, than, I don't know, Auburn. A team that they have had trouble with in the SEC for a long fucking time. And it showed. Got fucking dominated in the first quarter, 21-0. And then you slowly started to come back. And you take a late lead. And then you let Auburn score. Tie the game. Get sent to overtime 4 times. Auburn scores off of a beautiful pass by Peyton Thorne, who has had a really good turnaround too. Why aren't people talking about the turnaround that Peyton Thorne's having? And he's having a very good season, if I'm not mistaken. So, I mean, that's what happens when you progress. And then, I don't know what the fuck A&M was thinking with a trick play like that, and he obviously hit his receiver behind him. I didn't like that play call. I'm gonna just keep it a buck. I think A&M would have won if they just stuck to the basics. If they were to just stick to the basics and play normal football and not hoop-de-law backyard football type shit. There's another one that I think. But no. A&M controls their own destiny, though. Which, me and J-Mo are going to talk about that later on tonight, 6 p.m. Central. It's going to be a fucking crazy, crazy podcast. Let me just tell you. I'm ready to fucking party already. But let's get into this real quick before we dive into Daniel Jones. Mack Brown is fired from North Carolina after a 6-5 season, back and forth, and just back-to-back disappointing seasons for North Carolina. My personal thinking is that North Carolina tried to get him to resign, tried to get him to step down, tried to get him to retire, and he said, go fuck yourself. And at the result, they had no choice but to fire him, which I think that's shady as shit. I think you should just let a man fucking finish the job before the season's over with, which I hate the early season firings unless they actually do deserve it. And I don't mean performance-wise. I mean if they get into trouble, firing. But they fire him, but yet they owe $2.08 million in his contract. So guess what they said? You're fired, but you're going to coach your last game against NC State. You're fired, but you're going to coach against NC State. I honestly don't know what to say. But Mac, it's time to hang up the whistle. You haven't been very productive with North Carolina over the last couple seasons. It's time, bud. It's time. You brought a national championship to Texas, and I'm very grateful. 2 appearances, one collected championship. Really built Texas into a powerhouse in the Big 12. But Mac, you have to hang it up, bud. It's time. But for NC State, it's really shitty of you to fire somebody that really was an influential part of your school in his first tenure. And you fire him, but you're going to tell him to coach his last game as a fired coach, coaching his last game. See, this is why I watch Coach JB's show so much. Of stupid shit like this. I genuinely think that nobody gives a fuck about the head coaches or the assistant coaches or none of that shit. Nobody gives a shit about coaches anymore. They don't care about authority. It's all about this. And what have you done for me lately? North Carolina should be thankful that Mack Brown, it's ironic, isn't it? That North Carolina should be thankful for what Mack Brown has brought to North Carolina from his first tenure to his second tenure at North Carolina. Although his second tenure was a failure, he still put on a good show for you guys. And I'm talking about the administration in North Carolina, in UNC. It's a complete embarrassment that you're gonna really do a legendary coach like that has sent a bunch of guys into the NFL, made them better men, and I'm sorry, man. I'm really sorry, but North Carolina, you shady as shit for firing a guy and then saying you're going to coach your last game against North Carolina State. You know what? I'd much rather you fire me and pay me than tell me I'm fired, but I'm still going to have to coach. That's just like if I go to work, right? If I go do my job, my boss comes up to me and goes, "You're fired, but you're going to do double shifts." It's bullshit. That's straight up bullshit. Why? Because you don't have the fucking funds to pay fucking Mack Brown? It's only for a prestigious school like North Carolina, $2.08 million ain't shit. You telling me that you can't pay that? You got fucking LSU paying Ed Orgeron money right now. You got fucking A&M paying $7 million or $70 million to fucking Jimbo Dumbfuck Fisher. $2.08 million. You're really trying to just say we don't have to pay you out. That is some straight bullshit. Some shady fucking bitch-made cat shit right there. For a guy that basically turned your fucking program around from being in the gutter of the ACC to being a contender to being talked about as a contender. I don't know what else to say. I really don't. But for the simple fact that North Carolina, the Tar Heel Nation, the administration of North Carolina, is absolutely shady and bitch made. The fan base is fine. I haven't heard anything wrong about the Tar Heel Nation, but that's fucking bullshit. It really is. I fucking hate when coaches get fired this late in the season, not even over. I would understand more if the coach left for another job and the players are upset, the fans are upset, and the administration's upset. I would understand that more. But firing a guy and telling him that he's going to coach his last game, that is the stupidest shit I have ever heard. Honestly. That's just like saying ESPN fires Pat McAfee, but he's going to do his show. He's going to do his show one more week. It's fucking stupid. It is the stupidest fucking thing I've ever heard. But anyways, going from one stupid ass topic to another, Daniel Jones is out of New York, out of the Giants organization. They released him last week, or this past weekend actually. I mean, the Giants look fucking horrible as it is, even with Tommy DeVito, or whatever the fuck his name is, that gabagool. He's fucking awful. I think that Daniel Jones got shafted in this whole ordeal, even though the Giants are stupid enough to pay him that large amount of money. It's the stupidest fucking thing I've ever seen as far as dealing with the Giants. Which me and Jamin are going to have this topic later. We're going to talk about what franchise is the worst franchise in the NFL that we could think of. And give our reasons. But I'm telling you, the Giants organization is shitty. But good news is Daniel Jones earlier today, I wasn't even going to talk about this until it came up. Daniel Jones has signed with the Minnesota Vikings as a practice squad guy. Now, this could be a good thing for Daniel Jones. This could be a life-changing experience for him. I hope for the best for Daniel Jones, and I hope that O'Connell can figure out a way to develop Daniel Jones a little better than what New York did to him. I don't think Daniel Jones is the best QB out there, but I think he has the potential of being a really good quarterback. It's just there's a lot of things that he needs to work on, like mechanics and all this other shit. But I don't know. I don't know what else to say besides that. And I forgot my goddamn NFL recap. Stick right there. I'll be right back. See, this is what happens when you work 12-hour shifts and you just fucking forget a lot of shit. Okay, so I'm just going to go over a couple games here, or the 4 games that we predicted, and then I'm going to talk about the Commanders and Cowboys game, which was a fucking shocker to me. Alright, so 49ers Packers. This was a game to me that I thought the Packers were going to expose the 49ers for what they really are. Old, decrepit fossils. And JMO thought that the 49ers were going to bounce back, beat the Packers 21-14. Well, this time, Packers mollywopped the fuck out of the 49ers. 38-10. Jordan Love had a hell of a game. I'm very impressed with this Packers team. I would not be surprised if they're in the mix of the NFC Championship race. As far as the 49ers, I think they're toast. I think they're done. Josh Jacobs. Uh-oh. We're frozen. Why are we frozen? What's going on? Well, fucking froze. That ain't good at all. What the hell, man? I didn't even know you could do filters on here, but hang on. Hang on, guys. I'm sorry. There's technical difficulties going on right now. I don't know what's happening right now. Yeah, sorry guys. There's technical difficulties going on here, but I'll go through these games real quick. Hopefully we can get back on the scale of things. Jeez. When do I not have technical difficulties? Here we go. So we got the Arizona Cardinals traveling to the Seattle Seahawks. Honestly, I wasn't really too keen on this game at first. This was like my least favorite game out of this whole pick. But this is my Grandpa Jim's team. So I went with the Seattle Seahawks 28-24. J-Mo went with the Seahawks. He didn't give me a score, or at least I didn't hear the score. But the Seahawks won 16-6. Philadelphia traveling to Los Angeles to take on the Rams. I had the Eagles winning 31-21, and J-Mo had the Eagles to win 35-24. Eagles won 37-28. It was a damn good matchup, just that the Rams are just too weak compared to the Eagles, and outstanding performance by Saquon Barkley. And finally, the Ravens at the Chargers. I had the Chargers winning 27-23, while the J-Mo had the Ravens to win 35-14, and the Ravens won 30-23. Now, folks, I am so sorry that the screen is frozen. I don't understand why. But tune in here a little while, 2 p.m. I will be on again, and we will be covering the college football playoff rankings. So I will see you guys then. Toodaloo.